That is not what I said.
Clerk will call the roll.
Glenn Whitley, County Judge.
Here.
Roy Charles Brooks, Commissioner Precinct 1.
Present.
Andy H. Wynn, Commissioner Precinct 2.
Here.
Gary Fickus, Commissioner Precinct 3.
Here.
J.D. Johnson, Commissioner Precinct 4.
Here.
Constitutes a quorum.
Thank you. Our invitation this morning is going to be delivered by our own Ron Bertel. After the invocation, please remain standing for our pledges. Thank you, Ron.
Thank you. If you bow with me, please. Our Heavenly Father, we thank you so much for this day, another day that your favor and blessings continue to be poured out on this county. We pray that those would continue. As we recognize those of our family today that are experiencing anniversaries of their service, we ask that you would continue to bless each of the members of our family with health and success in the endeavors as we try to serve the public with a heart of service and a desire to seek your will and do it in all that we do. As we deliberate the things of today, may the court members hear your voice clearly so that your will would be done, that they can discharge their responsibility to you because you have placed them in oversight over this county to bring your will into being so that we can all live peacefully and in order. We thank you so much for the goodness that you've given us, and we ask all these things in the name of our Savior.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible. Mangus, agenda announcement.
Thank you, Your Honor. Members of the Court, we have one announcement relating to the agenda this morning. That is under the Domestic Relations Department. It will be item 8C1. We're going to ask that we hold that particular item for 1 week. It's on the consent agenda, so we'll simply remove from the consent agenda and hold it for 1 week. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you. I have
Your Honor, before we get going, let me also just simply remind the Court, I apologize, that we are not going to be having Commissioners' Court meeting on the 17th of this month. We'll have court again next week, the 10th, but not on the 17th. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you. I have audience participation requests on the item related to our storage and backup. And is that on the consent agenda?
No, it is not.
It's not? Okay. I thought that. I guess that's a different emergency thing. So I wanted to make sure we can talk about that as we got to that. Court members, you have before you the minutes of our meeting of June the 26th.
Move approval. Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously. Now we come to one of my favorite times of the month, and that is the opportunity for me to mispronounce many of your names. Most of you know the routine. You listen, and when you hear something that sounds like your name, you stand up. And then when we get to the end of that particular category, we'll recognize all of you and then kind of move on from there. And again, I do look forward to this every month. I cannot tell you how much I appreciate everything that you as employees for Tarrant County do. You are truly the folks that make this the great place to live and to work and to raise a family. All of us, as we've traveled and had an opportunity to be around the state, realize how much you mean and how much a part of this family you are, and how really it is y'all that make this such a great place. And so we say it every month, but again, I cannot stress how much we really mean when we thank you for the years of service that you give. We just very, very much appreciate it. So with that, we'll begin with our 5-year employees. The first is Candice Amanchuko, Fanny Blake from Public Health, Fanny Blaylock from CSCD, Britannia Brewstrom from CSCD. Jimmy Doss, Sheriff Confinement. Francis Ellers, Community Development. Jeremiah Fenwick, Sheriff Confinement. Patty Flores, County Clerk. Kirk Kelso, Facilities Management. William Kersey, Sheriff Confinement. Melanie Knowles, Sheriff Confinement. Jay Lowe, County Clerk. Gary Montgomery, Sheriff Confinement. Roger Murphy, Sheriff Courts. Alan Peters, Juvenile Services. Angela Potter, CSCD. Now I know why everybody just calls you Ange. Anjani Romanane? No, try, go ahead.
Remnant.
You were pretty close there, Commissioner. Ange, Human Resources. Asia Watson with County Clerk. Barbara Wheat, Sheriff Training. Cheryl Wood, Tax Office. And Terry Wright, Juvenile Services. Let's give these 5-year employees a hand. Now for our 10-year employees. Sharon Bird, District Clerk's Office. Diana Cervantes, Public Health. Christopher Deering, Sheriff North Patrol. Ashley Eubanks, Domestic Relations. Edward Freeman, Sheriff South Patrol. Deanna Hurst, CSCD. Susan Macangulo, Sheriff Confinement. I suffered through all that and she's not here.
She may be.
She could be, you're right. I mean, let's not totally rule that out. Is there anybody from Susan from the Sheriff's Department here? Albert Mercado, Sheriff Confinement. Nita Roberson, Sheriff Booking. Willie Shepard, Facilities Management. Willie? Jeff Toller, Public Health. Christy Tolliver, Sheriff Confinement. James Ward, Sheriff Confinement. And Jose Yabero, Sheriff Confinement. Let's give our 10-year employees a big round. Now for our 15-year employees. Teresa Austin, District Attorney's Office. Ronald Boozbashell, Information Technology. Yvette Castillo, Juvenile Services. Michael Della Flor, District Attorney's Office. Prince McGinnis, Tax Office. Darlene McCowan, County Clerk's Office. Teresa Otterson, Sheriff Confinement. Letitia Paramore, Sheriff Confinement. Randall Petit, Sheriff Confinement. Timothy Stewart, Sheriff Warrants. And Barton Tarbell, Precinct 4 Maintenance. Let's give our 15-year employees a hand. Now for our 20-year employees, Tilton Clark, Sheriff Courts. Kelly Crowell, Constable, Precinct 2. Pat Davis, Probate Court Number 1. Ken Harris, Juvenile Services. Martha Kibler, Justice of the Peace, Precinct 3. Tim Sears, the Auditor's Office. Tim. And Mary Tober, CSCD. Let's give our 20-year employees a hand. Now for our 25-year employees, our first is Donnie Denton from the Sheriff Warrants. Now, Donnie started out in the jail and worked transportation for about 6 years, and then in patrol. He was promoted to sergeant and then lieutenant while in patrol. In October of 2004, he moved over to Warrants. After Warrants, he went to training for a while. Then he was promoted to captain and is now back in the jail for 2 weeks. I believe when we talked, 2 or 3 weeks now. Since the last time one of the memorable moments that we kind of highlighted at the 20-year point was that he has 3 life-saving bars. 3 times, basically, he has saved folks' life. Once was a trailer fire where he drugged someone out of that trailer. Then he found someone who had fallen down a hill and was able to help him. So 3 times in his career he's been able to really help the citizens. What he's liked most about Tarrant County was the people that he's had a chance to work with. And at that time, at the 20-year mark, he said he hoped he continued for another 10 years. Well, obviously, he's made it another 5 years. Also, when last we talked at the 20-year mark, his son, who plays baseball, had won the state championship and was headed for the national tournament. His oldest daughter has graduated from college. His son is in high school and still playing baseball. And his middle daughter is at Tarrant County College and just recently made the dean's list. In fact, I think you said that both your daughters had made the dean's list in their time in college, and you were hopeful about your son as he entered his college at his college time. Donnie, we appreciate very much the 25 years you've given us, and as I told you the other day, I hope in 5 years I'll be around to talk with you again on your 30-year celebration. So thank you. Next is Keelu Kerr with the District Clerk's Office. She's been with us now for 25 years. Again, when last we talked, which was 5 years ago, she said she came to the county as a result of the fact that her mom was dating someone at that time, one of the county judges, and that they indicated that there was some space and some vacancies in the county. But she said, really, my first connection with that was her dad, who had actually worked for the county clerk's office when she was growing up. She started out with the district clerk Tom Hughes. She now works at the file desk and has been there for a long time. She said when I asked her about memorable moments, she said anytime the legislature meets and changes the law, then that creates a little bit of havoc, because the day before the law changes, there's a long line of lawyers filing lawsuits for the old law as opposed to being carried under the new one. She said she also remembered some of the old Halloween parties where everybody would dress up in the costumes, and the day when she asked her what it liked best, it was again the job stability and security and the folks that she's had a chance to work with, the new things that she's learned, and the people that she meets. Again, one of the things that she said, the big thing that has changed is the technology. She said, when I first started working here, we were basically using the big fee docket books, and now everything's pretty much has gone to technology. Over the last 5 years, she said, I lost my mom about 3 years ago, and again, the family was there to kind of be around me. She said, but when it's all said and done, everything's pretty good in Tarrant County, and she really enjoys being here. And we appreciate very much you being here, Keela. Thank you very much. Thank you. I need that. Next is Raul Pena, Jr. from the Sheriff's, the Court's Labor Detail. Before he came to Tarrant County, he actually was in Valverde County. My computer says it's about to restart. I hope it don't restart here anytime soon. Started out in the jail at the Belknap facility and was at Cold Springs for a while. Worked in Green Bay and then moved to the Labor Detail. Since over the last 5 years, he's gone to the Justice Center, and now he's back in the Labor Detail. When I asked him about his memorable moments, he said the time that he was with the booking department, he said there's never a dull moment in the booking department, especially on the night shifts. And I can just imagine that you see a lot during that night shift. In fact, Commissioner Johnson and I were talking a little bit this morning about that ring where people come in and they're asked a bunch of questions, and I'm sure that on a Friday night or an early Saturday morning there could be a little interesting. It's an interesting time. When I asked him what he liked most, again, it was the opportunities, the doors that were opened, and to allow him to go different folks in different places. He wanted to thank everybody again for the opportunities they've been given. Over the last 5 years, when I asked him kind of what was going on or how it was going on in the family, he said, 8 months ago I became a grandfather, and I'm going to tell you there ain't nothing like being a grandparent. You can spoil them and give them back. The little baby boy is now in Fort Worth. Recently they, I guess, moved back here from Denver, and so that's also something that I've come to realize is a blessing, is having the grandbabies near you as opposed to being off and not being able to see them as much. He said, I always felt like, and this was kind of his whole philosophy, that you treat people the way you expect to be treated. And he's always felt like that's if he could run and conduct his day-to-day routine under that scenario, it would be great. And Raul, that's just the way I think, that's what makes Tarrant County as great a place it is that regardless of the people that you may be in contact with and why you may be in contact with, we've always treated them with respect. And I appreciate it. I hear that over and over again from folks in the Sheriff's Department. And I think that's very admirable. And at the same time, I know that at times that has to be difficult. But I hear that over and over and over again from the folks, really from everybody, but especially from the folks out of the Sheriff's Department. And I think that that means a lot to everyone. So thank you very, very much for your 25 years of service. Next is Ray Wright, DA, Civil Section, 25 years. He's been basically the Commissioner's Court attorney from the day he came to the county. He said Dalton Gandy was the head of the Civil Division when he started. He interviewed with Tim. He said, I remember wanting to come to Fort Worth, and I remember sitting in there and seeing the Remington picture in the background in Tim's office. He also remembers his first day at court, and I think I probably said this at his 20-year mark. He said, Commissioner Johnson asked me some question. He said, I babbled for probably about 3 or 4 minutes. He said a minute, but I know Ray, he never stopped at a minute. He's still babbling. But that, he just said that I finally just decided to be quiet about the deal. He said, I remember being in here with when Sheriff Carpenter would make a statement like he had an oral signed contract. So, strange things have occurred. Again, he talked about how great it was to work with some of the folks that he's had a chance to work with, Chris Marshall, Gerald Summerford, Steve Cheney, Tim Curry. Those folks have passed away. But he's also had a chance to work with Marvin and with Alan. He said never in the 20 years has he been asked to change an opinion because of politics, and that was something that was at the 20-year mark, and same be said at the 25. Since last we talked, obviously Tim has passed away. He said the new guy's the same in a lot of ways and different in a lot of ways, but it's a joy to continue to be able to work in the DA's office. He said, you know, while he's had a small part in it, he's very proud of the fact that basically they were able to build a jail, a maximum security jail, complete that in construction, and get it approved by all parties. This past week we received our, not only the certificate of occupancy, which Mr. Phillips brought up last week, but in addition to that, we passed jail inspection. And so that facility is now prepared to begin allowing folks to get in there and understand, and hopefully to be able to begin to accept prisoners later on this fall as everybody's had a chance to go through that. His son is teaching English in Korea, has been over there for this tour about 9 months, had previously, this is actually his second trip, and on his first trip, he'd spent about 2 years, I guess, over there. And apparently Korea has some sort of a regulation that really you can only spend about 2 years at a time before you have to come back, take a break. And his son is now over there teaching English for the second time. And then his older daughter is in Austin right now. So, again, Ray, we want to thank you for your 25 years of service. And I'll look forward to talking to you again in 5 years, hopefully. Next to recognize for 25 years was Victor Sanchez, Sheriff Patrol, but he's here. Come on down, because I didn't get a chance to talk with you. And there's 3 people in my office that are wondering why I haven't had a chance to talk to you yet. He's reluctant, I see, to come forward. I'll just say that he started out in confinement. In patrol, and then he's been in narcotics and back in patrol. He loved the camaraderie that has happened in the Sheriff's Department. You're about to retire, aren't you? Yeah, and so that's the reason why I've not been able to coax him to get on up here. But I will say that one of the things about him is that he has been a boxing coach for youth for, I'm probably assuming now, close to 15 years. 20 years. So he really takes an interest in the youth, and Victor, we have appreciated very much the time that you have served Tarrant County, and we're glad for your retirement, but also sad. But we wish you the best as you move on from Tarrant County. Thank you very much. Next is Sharon Craig with the District Attorney's Office. 30 years. District Clerk? District Clerk. Is it District Clerk? Yes. Well, somebody was questioning this up here, so I thought, okay, maybe I missed it. I said District Attorney. I meant, okay, I'm sorry. Well, I knew it was District something.
You're doing good.
I take this abuse up here all the time. You started with adult probation, was there, and then moved to HR for a while, and then to district clerk, and was in the accounting and trust area, and in fact are still in the accounting and trust area. Hates the spotlight, just absolutely detests the fact that she's having to stand up there and be spotlighted. And then we went on, and I called her from the wrong department. She said the thing that she likes most are of the many friends that she's had a chance to make over her years over her 30 years with the district, or with Tarrant County. Just leave it right there. She has a son that had leukemia, and I remember one of the times when we were commissioner, when I was a commissioner, that we had an opportunity to do some things for Sheldon, and it was one of the proudest moments I guess I've had with the county. Sheldon's doing well. He's living no health problems. He's in Waco right now, seeking his direction. That's the way we'll say it. But she really wanted to thank all of the elected officials and department heads for making Tarrant County such a great place to work and to raise a family. And again, Sharon, I appreciate that, but it is everybody. I mean, the elected officials, the department heads, I appreciate very much, and I appreciate the way that you push down this whole attitude. But again, it's the employees who actually are the front line of dealing with folks. And Sharon, you're one of those individuals, and we appreciate very much the 30 years you've given. Thank you very much. And Sawyer Codwell from the Public Health Department. 30 years. Again, all that time has been with Public Health. Started out as a WIC program manager, then moved up to manager for community health. Now is the associate director for community health and promotion. When I talked with her originally 5 years ago, she said, when I first came into the WIC department, we had hand vouchers, and you'd take them home, and she would take those home each night and sign these stacks and stacks of documents. So she had this idea, and she would get her a stamp. And so she went out and spent $2 for the stamp, but then found out that she was in trouble about that, and she had to write a letter of apology for the fact that she'd gotten this stamp. I think the auditor got a little nervous about that. And then she said the first time she opened a clinic, there goes my computer again. I know. If I had the paper, I wouldn't have to worry about that. The first time she opened a clinic in Richland Hills, she'd rented the space, but she forgot to get the certificate of occupancy. And so the city was going to close them down, and she had to take her own $25 out to the city to get that certificate of occupancy. So she said, you know, I had these first two little blips. She said, I'm just glad I'm still here. She loved the supports that she got from the department. When I asked her kind of what had happened over the last 5 years, it was some of the programs that had started. The Fatherhood Coalition, which that program has, is one that has been kind of a program that is working with CPS and with public health and with, I just went blank on the workforce development. All three of them are working, and Charles Scoma has been a big drive in that particular area. But that program has become not only statewide, but really nationwide in reconnecting with the fathers, and in a lot of instances bringing the fathers back into the lives of their children. So that is something that the whole county has a lot to be proud of there. They've also worked on the obesity project, infant mortality. As far as her family, she said, I have one son through college, has a job, has a house. I'm telling you, that house is kind of the glue that I kind of think keeps them from coming back home. I tell everyone that I have three kids, but we've been empty nesters 6 times. They all three own their own houses now. So I feel a whole lot more comfortable that we may be able to maintain that empty nester attitude. She has one that I guess has about 1.5 years left with college. Another thing that she's very proud of is that she was able to retire from the Navy Reserve as a captain, I believe just recently. And that's happened over the last 5 years. She said, I could not be happier with the job that I have. We could not be happier that you've spent the 30 years with Tarrant County, and we appreciate you very much. Thank you. That y'all represent 730 years of service to Tarrant County. And again, we appreciate and thank you very much for all that you do for us. We cannot sing your praises enough, and words really cannot express how much we appreciate what you do day in, day out, never taking it for granted, and always treating the people who come before you as if they were your first person that you ever had a chance to deal with, and the most important person that you ever had to deal with at that time. Thank you. Refreshments, 504C. Thank you again very much. Let's give everybody a big hand. receiving, I don't think we ever do good, because we don't ever do it. Court members, you have before you the consent agenda.
Move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously. Mr. Mayes.
Thank you, Your Honor. Members of the Court, under the Administrator's section, we have one additional item. Item number 1, we're requesting that the Court approve an order with respect to Republic Services, Inc. project approving the refunding and financing of tax-exempt solid waste disposal revenue bond series 2007A issued by Mission Economic Development Corp. And authorize the county judge to execute the certificate of order.
Move approval.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you. Ms. Glenn.
Good morning.
Good morning.
We have 2 items for the court this morning. The first item, we're asking the court to receive and file the personnel agenda.
So moved.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Our second and final item, we're asking the court to approve a waiver of terminal benefits for the county clerk's office. As indicated in your court communique, the county clerk has an information services clerk who retired at the end of June with 244 vacation hours. County clerk is requesting a waiver of 204 vacation hours with a net fiscal impact to the general fund of approximately $1,400.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Beecham.
Your Honor, members of the court, we have 8 items for your consideration this morning. Our first item is a bid award recommendation for bid 2012-088A. It's annual contract for sign shop supplies. A recommendation will be awarded to Graphic Solutions Group on a per unit price basis.
Move approval.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Our second item is also a bid award recommendation for bid 2012-108. This is our annual contract for pre-employment polygraph services for the Sheriff's Department. Recommendation would be to award on a per unit price basis, awarding to the primary and secondary vendors as shown in your court communique.
Move approval.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Item number 3 is another bid award recommendation for bid 2012-118. This is a bid for the partial roof replacement for the Dion Phillips Bagsby Southwest Sub Courthouse. Recommendation would be to award to Jeff Eubanks Roofing the amount of $419,901. If this is approved, we're seeking contract approval as well as acceptance of the performance and the payment bond.
Move approval.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Item number 4 is another bid award recommendation for bid 2012-120. This is our annual contract for locksmith services and supplies. A recommendation would be awarded to a company called Loctite Security on a per unit price basis and a discount off the lift price. We received a bid from a company called Priority Lock Service. They did not sign their bid document. And a bid from Michael's Keys, and they did not bid on 13 out of 20-some-odd items, so we would recommend rejection of those 2 documents.
Move approval.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? The motion is to approve this, not to reject those 2 offers.
Reject the bids from Priority Lock and Michael's Keys and approve the bid from Loctite Security. Yes, sir.
Okay.
The motion covers both items.
Okay. Any other discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Our item number 5 is also a bid award recommendation for bid 2012-122. This is our annual contract for Hemo Point supplies and equipment for the Health Department. Our recommendation would be to award the low bidder, Alere North America Incorporated, on a per unit price basis.
Move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Item number 6 is an item in regards to RFP 2012-065. This is the RFP for enterprise storage products and professional services. Just a brief history. This has been brought before court before. If you remember, we conducted a pre-bid conference on February 22nd, 2012. The technical specs were developed with input from Gartner Research. There were changes which were incorporated that they suggested. Our evaluation committee consists of representatives from information technology, the county clerk's office, district clerk's office, sheriff's office, and purchasing. Based on the input from Commissioners Court, we took these documents back and conducted a review meeting on June 15th, 2012 with EMC, Vion Corporation, and Hewlett-Packard. Those RFPs were rescored. With that in mind, the proposal received from ENC Corporation received the highest evaluation scores after the rescoring, does meet all specifications, and is acceptable to the evaluation committee. We are recommending or asking permission from the court to conduct final negotiations with the EMC Corporation.
We have a couple of audience participations. Do we want a motion before then, or we just?
I don't mind a bit making a motion. It's the same motion that I made the last time, to accept the recommendations of the evaluation committee and award this contract to EMC.
And I'll second that, and then I'll call for audience participations. We have two forms, and I will take blame again for mispronouncing the names, but some of these you folks could do a little bit better on your writing. I have one from Fred Hebert and Mike Matus, and then one from Michael Hasbury. Yeah, that works. The first two, if Fred and Mike would come forward, and please, again, state your name, address, and who you're representing.
My name is Fred Aber. I'm from the Hewlett-Packard Corporation. Our office is in Irving, Texas. I wanted to take this time to say that it's out of respect that I'm here today to address the Commissioners Court. On June 5th, last month, we were here to discuss the fiscal impact that the EMC storage bid would have on the county. And today, we're here to discuss negotiations with another vendor besides HP. So on June 5th, HP came before the Commissioners Court, and we raised points and concerns about the EMC RFP. You had listened to us, and because of that, we do appreciate you adding the oral presentations to the evaluation process. During that process, we brought up a lot of points. Some of them dealt with saving money for the county and for the taxpayers. So hopefully you'll be able to use those savings when you go do the negotiations with EMC moving forward. And if not, and if the negotiations do break down, I do want to let you know that I and HP are here to assist you. So until that time, I will just remove myself into the aisle. Thank you.
So my name is Mike Matus. I'm the HP Enterprise Account Manager for the state of Texas. I just want to wrap this up on what Fred said. We appreciate the court allowing us the due process to bring the points forward. My team's focused on public sector across the state of Texas. We do a lot of business with your peers, peer counties, cities, et cetera. So I don't want this in any way to be an adversarial situation. We just wanted our due process and fairness to move forward and make points. So again, I represent the greater HP, all products, not just storage. So my teams work in many different areas, and we want to earn Tarrant County's business at some point in time. And so I don't want this to be an adversarial. I appreciate what IT did, the team that evaluated the RFPs, and we just want a shot at future business at Tarrant County. And we appreciate the due process, and I look forward to future projects. Again, thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen. We appreciate very much you being here today.
I would like to thank HP for their diligence in pursuing this bid, and we do not perceive your diligence to be adversarial at all. The door is still wide open.
Michael?
Your Honor and members of the court, on behalf of EMC, we just wanted to take a brief minute and thank you all for the process that had undertaken over the last year, and believe again that it was a very fair and thorough and complete RFP process, which we appreciated being a participant in. Following the oral presentations here a couple weeks ago, we were able to see and review the grading out on the website, and in that case, EMC was graded favorably again. So we respectfully ask that the motion pass today, and we have appreciated your time and the RFP process's time in making this selection.
Okay.
All right. Thank you very much.
And this is Michael Hasmany. I'm the Area Vice President for EMC. I handle all of Texas, and just want to reiterate what Milton mentioned just now, that we appreciate the process that you went through. I think that our staff did a very good job and a fair job throughout the process. And again, I'm proud to say that we've scored consistently through the whole process, but thank you for your time.
Milton, you be sure and give the name to the county clerk there so that they can get that into the record.
Yes, sir. Sure will. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Manius.
Your Honor, if I could just make one comment as it relates to this bid. I think that that the staff has learned a lot through this process. We've invested a tremendous amount of time, and I think that the final outcome is a good outcome for the county. I will tell you, as we move forward in the future, that as we look at major acquisitions such as this or major upgrades to our system, I want to pledge to you that what the staff intends to do is not simply to move forward in very small incremental steps, but rather to evaluate how our systems work, to ensure that, and to bring to you a recommendation as to how we can improve those systems with new technology. And we look forward to doing business with all of the three vendors that you see today.
Commissioner Figgins.
GK and Jack, and really any department head, I would hope that in the future that we would continue to, as we did here, seek input from our vendors and not close them out from any discussion or any communication in the future. I think that's a very important element of this whole purchasing, buying process, that you have that line of communication open and that you welcome their input. Not everything's black and white. And so I'm glad we were able to do what we did here. And for that reason, I think we're much better off and a whole lot higher level of understanding to the whole court. So, thank you.
Can I make a comment? We started this process back in March 2011. Okay, I want to make sure everybody understand that. And for me personally, it has never been against all employees, IT staff. I appreciate Pete, David, Jen, and all the IT team members for doing a wonderful job. My goal, and I'm sure this is the goal of the court as well, and I really don't want to speak on your behalf, but I really, working with you for the past over a year, I understand that it is very important that we have an open and competitive bidding process. And that was the objective that I went after. It was painful, it was lengthy, but I think we achieved that. Okay. I only wish that EMC can lower their price a little bit more, and I hope that in the future, any incumbent vendor will feel and will have to believe that you do not automatically have all business, that you're going to have to be competitive and you're going to have to prove your business case to us. And that is the process that Mr. Manius explained a moment ago, and going forward, our process to acquire large IT items, including upgrades, will be a whole lot more transparent, a whole lot more open, and more competitive. And I appreciate everybody for working with us. Thank you.
Call the question.
Go ahead, Jack. Did you
I just had a comment to add to something that GK said. I think we did learn from the process. Our intent was professional. I feel like that the process was transparent. But I can tell you, to give you a little bit of comfort level, a little bit more maybe, every IT project over $100,000, we will conduct a pre-bid conference, and the interview process with the vendors will become standard procedure. That's already in place.
Yeah, let me just say one more word, please. See, I came from an IT background, okay? IT, technologies, is not like construction in many sense, where you can come in, walk the building, and see the roof, see the wall, and so forth. In order for competitors to really have a fair shot at bidding, they're going to have the ability to do a short dive into the database to really measure what we all don't see. You see what I'm saying? Okay. So just having a pre-bid conference, answer a few questions, a lot of time does not provide enough information for them to competitively bid against the incumbent, because the incumbent have 4, 5, 6, 7 years of insight into how data is stored and what type of storage and so forth. So there is a very real advantage over the competitors. So I would encourage purchasing to look more than beyond the traditional purchasing process, which is just a pre-bid conference. So I just want to make that comment.
Please vote. Motion passes unanimously. Thank you.
Item number 7 is an item in regards to RFP 2012-113. This is an RFP for an SAP application service provider. We are recommending rejection of all proposals and asking permission to rebid with revised specifications. Very simply, we don't feel comfortable with the pricing structure. We want to be sure that all the vendors understand that to its fullest.
Did we go through this last year already? We did not?
Don't think so, no, sir.
Okay.
I move for approval to reject all bids.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
And item number 8 is pretty much the same situation. This is in regards to bid 2012-115. It's an RFP for a migration of the SAP R3 BW systems. We don't feel like that the clarity is there. We want to conduct a pre-bid conference and be sure everybody understands the pricing structure that we're asking for.
Move for approval to reject bids.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously. Thank you, Jack. Commissioner Wynn, I believe you have an interlocal agreement.
I move for the approval of item K1, A, B, C, D, E, and F.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously. Commissioner Fickus?
I move approval of 8K2A. It's to sell liquid asphalt to the city of South Lake.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously. And Commissioner Johnson?
I move approval of item 8K, 3A, and B. It's an interlocal agreement with White Settlement Independent School District.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously. Appointments? You have before you the claims, including the addendum.
Move approval of the claims, including the addendum.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the claims, including the addendum. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously. Briefing items, Mr. Manius.
Your Honor, we do not have any items to bring to the court this morning.
Okay, with that, we will recess our open meeting and proceed to closed session to discuss items exempted under sections 551.071, 072, 074, 076, and 087 of the Texas Government Code.
quit.
I was just about to do it.
Roy was pushing me pretty hard.
Yeah.
Having returned from closed session and there being no business to undertake at this time, we are adjourned.
Happy July 4th to everyone.
Yes.